Greetings and salutations. We're back, and we're going back to the sorceress. I know, I jumped between the two, right? So there's the sorceress, she's still alive, he made Nightmare, we're doing good. Now we're hoping that she can survive past Duriel, which is me basically going to be relying on melee and, well, having a icy shield. So there's not much there. Not much really to work with. But we'll see how it goes. If it works well, and it works out really great for me, that'll be great. If she bites the biscuit, well, maybe I could try a different build. Who knows? We're just going to wing it. Now, there was a guy, or an individual, I can't say a guy. I'm always going to default to calling people guys and dudes. Okay? That's just what I do. That's like natural for me. I even called my sister dude one time, alright? She's not a dude, but I was like, dude, what's going on? Yeah, so, let's just not worry about me saying dudes or guys, because I do that all the time. Anyway, there was this guy. It was in my comments on my Terraria video, and I appreciate every comment I get, absolutely. So he wants me to do a playthrough of Master Mode on Terraria. So I'm gonna go through all of normal, all of advanced, not the advanced, but like the next level up, and then of course the Master Mode. So I am going to eventually do that. It is going to take me a bit because I don't want to inundate the entire channel with Terraria. But I will do it. Now I could even do a challenge that way. I'll just start a character out on Master Mode, but with no items. Do that too. Never thought of that. That sounds like a fun time. Fun, fun being the operative F word I'm not jumping to immediately. It'll be fun. I would prefer to just do like a whole progression run through Terraria, though we'll see. We'll see what I can do. I mean, it'd be hard for a character that has no gear to try to kill the Eye of Cthulhu and Master, so it'd take a whole lot of flaming arrows. I don't think I'll have enough flaming arrows, to be honest with you. But if I can do it, I'll do it. We'll see. We'll just play it by ear. I mean, I'm honestly hoping that I could do it because I like the idea of playing more Terraria. Anybody that says to me, hey, do you want to play more Terraria? Yes, sign me up. It is one of the games. I've invested over 800 hours into it. Well over 800 hours, like 864. Is that the game that I've invested the most time in? No. That game I invested most of my time in was one of the older Pokemon games. I know that because the save file said 999 hours and 99 whatever minutes. Like it bottomed out. 999.59. Not 99, but 59. Like I buried it. And then they started adding a fourth digit of time. So I mean I invested a ton of time into that. I invested a ton of time into World of Warcraft as well. So there it's I did have a lot of time where I could just sit down and do nothing but play games. So I don't mind doing a playthrough of Terraria, all the way up, starting up from normal through advanced, etc. I think it'll be fun. And we'll see how well it's received. So we're gonna run with it. And it's kind of funny in that video though, the hardcore video on Terraria. Definite oof on it, but well worth. I still had fun. And I think that's the key difference, right? You've got a lot of people out there, and I almost can't really stress this enough, and I really want people to take it at least to heart a little bit. If you're playing a game and you're playing it to be hyper competitive, or you're playing it to be, to win all the time, you're gonna find yourself unhappy. You're gonna find yourself getting angry. You're gonna find yourself being upset at misplays. This is why I tell people, play for happiness, man. play to enjoy the game for what the game is. Play to just enjoy your time. That's what I do. That's why I do wacky stuff like this with the sorceress. That's why I do wacky stuff like play hardcore Terraria. And I turn around and I play Monster Hunter, right? Now, Monster Hunter isn't very well received. Don't know why. I happen to like the game. I happen to like the game a lot. Then again, I've always liked Monster Hunter. Ever since I got into the franchise, okay? My brother was the one that got me into the franchise. He tried back in, like, the earlier Monster Hunters to get me into the franchise, and I was like, no. And then when Monster Hunter Tri came out for the Wii, I was like, you know what? I'll play it. As soon as I started playing it, I couldn't put it down. I absolutely could not stop playing that Monster Hunter, no matter how hard I tried. So, ever since that point, I have Monster Hunter 4 Generations Unite, I believe on the DS. I have Monster Hunter World, I have Monster Hunter Rise, I have Sunbreak, I have the Ice of the World expansion for World, and now I have Monster Hunter Wilds, which I have to admit, I think Wilds is much more fun. I think the combat is fluid, so I happen to like it more than World. World seemed kind of clunky at times, so I happen to like Monster Hunter. Specifically Wilds. Wilds is great. Of course, people are like, but what about the one voice actor? I don't know. I have him in Japanese. What do you want from me? I put almost every single game in Japanese voice acting with subtitles. Partly because I'm a weeb and I watch a whole bunch of anime, and partly because Japan has a different feel, has a different feeling toward their voice actors, right? Whereas in the States, a guy here will do some voice acting and they'll have outtakes, right? And they'll put the outtakes on an outtake track and be like, haha, it's funny. Meanwhile, in Japan, they rarely do outtakes like that. Because to them, it's about getting it done and getting it done right. And putting out a polished product. So, hearing their voice acting, you can tell they put time and effort into it in a lot of places. So that's why I like playing it with subtitles. That and reading. Wait, is that extra? Well, there's an extra level of frozen armor. Do I want it? No. I'd prefer a orb with another ability on it, like lightning bolt, charge bolt, frost bolt, something. Give me some skills. Today was a nice day, though. Today was a really nice day. Good weather, great times. Past few days have been great. I've been happy with what I've been doing. I've just been overall happy with everything going on right now. You know. There's a guy on Twitter who he goes by It's Lethal. It's Lethal Twitch TV or TTV. So it's kind of cool. I was talking to him, not like in DMs or anything like that, but he made a post on Twitter about something akin to his name changing because he got Twitch partner, and then he's decided he's going to change his name. Well, there's some lore behind that where they call the guy Uncle Ian because he kind of looks like Uncle Ian from Alvin and the Chipmunks, the live action movie. And so this guy cannot get away from these allegations that he's Uncle Ian. And they're like, it's never going to go away. You just have to accept it. And the poor guy's just constantly getting called Uncle Ian. But it's all in good fun. And it's great. I love watching these people succeed, right? I love watching these people drive forward and get what they want and they're doing it, and they're out there just kind of like pounding the pavement every single day, putting up the content, making things enjoyable, getting people to watch. And I love seeing that. I love seeing these people succeed. I love seeing these people just thrive, you know? But when something comes along and people are like, "Oh yeah, you look like this." He's like, "No, I don't." I mean, admittedly, yeah, he kind of does. But when people start putting that stuff out there, it's like it's okay. Go along with the joke. Go along, chuckle about it. Have some fun, right? It's all in good fun. The guy's doing great, and I hope he continues to do great. Like I hope he does even more things. I hope that I hope he has all the success. You know what I mean? Like I want him to go above and beyond. Let's see his name up there in lights. Have him go on a world tour. Like a whole bunch of other people. And if he could do that by being himself and being genuine and authentic, hey man, way to go! You hit it. You found a niche, man. Right? So that's the thing. And that's really it. And people are like, well, I've had people ask me, what's my take on, like I Show Speed or Kai Cenat, or they'll name a bigger name, and it's like, well, I don't watch their content, so I can't really give you feedback. I don't watch hardly any content at all, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'm too busy doing my own thing, right? I used to be a big content consumer, and then as soon as I started getting into the whole creation thing, I just stopped consuming content. Like I would watch some certain stuff, like video game opinions or political opinions or something on YouTube, or I will watch old Bob Ross episodes because, who doesn't like Bob Ross? But I don't really consume like streamer content. I don't. And I rarely consume like video recorded content from a streamer or YouTuber. So if somebody was to tell me, a YouTuber name, I probably wouldn't know who they were realistically, unless you really like showed me a picture and said, okay, this is the guy I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, I'll get that. I'll understand. I'll know who that is once I see that and I can put a face to the name, right? But I get to see a lot of like Kai Cenat and I Show Speed because it shows up in my Twitter feed, so that's the only reason I know of them. I haven't watched any of their material, so I can't really wager on whether or not I find it entertaining. But hey, they got there, they were successful. Great job, good on them. More power to you, man. Doesn't bother me any. I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you were able to do it. I'm glad you were able to make that climb and get up to that point, because not everybody makes it. There's a whole bunch of people that try, and there's a lot of people that just kind of give up because they don't see the numbers kind of flowing in. You don't see that metric, ticking up. And obviously, viewer metrics are going to go down. They're going to go up and they're going to go down depending on the season. Like if you think about it, you're going to get more viewer metrics in the winter than you will in the summer, because everybody in the summer is going to go places. They're going to go, out and go camping or go on a vacation or go on a long trip. So it's harder to get viewer metrics and viewer feedback in the summer than it is in the winter. Having said that, there are people that they'll be able to pull down numbers no matter what. And to those people, it's like, okay, cool. You've clearly found the secret sauce. You've found the recipe, right? So you know how to bring in the viewer metrics. Now, there are obviously limits and boundaries to which people will do and will not do on camera. Like me, I'm not going to do anything foolish. I'm not going to be like one of those, hey, catch me doing, some sort of wild and zany trick. Oh, that was some lag. I could have lost my sorceress there. It's fine. No worries. Even if I had lost her, we'd have just started over. I'm not going to do like the wild and zany antics or anything like that. I'm not going to be like, oh, let me go out and act like a complete fool in public. I'm not going to do that. Okay? I just don't. Doesn't appeal to me. It's almost like a gimmick to get eyeballs. That's what it feels like. Or the people that will fake having a catastrophe happen in their setup. Like they'll mount something specifically precariously up here, and then they'll bang on the table because something bad happens in a game, and then the item falls down and cracks him in the head. And they're doing it as like a slapstick gag. I won't do that either. But if people are getting viewer metrics because of it, cool. That's great. I'm glad it works for you. I personally won't do that. Maybe it's because I don't find it to be entertaining. I don't know. Hard telling why I won't. That's just not me. It's not how I am. It's not how I operate. I try to operate on a more philosophical nature, you know? Like, I used to do streaming, and it was so hard for me to actually pay attention to the people that came into the chat, because I'd always have to look over, like, hey, you know? I'd try to look over and see them, and it was getting very difficult to keep track of it. Especially if I was in an intense area in the game, you know, it got to be even harder to keep track of it. But it was fun. I will be doing a stream. I don't know on what platform. I don't know if I probably do it on YouTube, to be honest with you. And it will be on the 1 year anniversary of my channel. So be aware of that. So the 1 year anniversary, not of my channel per se, but when I started actively posting videos. As I've had the channel name for a while, I just never posted anything on it. And then when I get to the 1 year anniversary of when I had my channel start posting videos, then I will do an absolute like live stream. And the live stream will be it'll be me doing a one talent challenge hardcore character, okay? And it will be I pick the class, you pick the talent. So I will pick a class in which to work with, and my viewers will be able to pick the talent in which I have to level all the way through normal with. That should cause some hilarity to ensue. Because if you think about it, right? Let's say I pick Necromancer, right? They could just easily pick Amplify Damage. So now I got to make it all the way through all of the acts with just Amplify Damage. With a curse that does legitimately nothing. Makes everybody hit harder. For physical damage, anyway. And then it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. I'm going to have to go through the entire thing with just Amplify Damage. So, like, if I was to pick a Barbarian, they'd be like, oh, okay, so we're going to have you to pick Iron Skin. Yikes. So it has the potential to go very sideways. Very quickly. Well, we're going to see. So I'm going to do that for my anniversary stream. Just a little something special. It's just what I want to do. Have some fun with it, you know. And why not? Right? That's the whole point of it. It's the whole point of anybody getting into content creation. And it doesn't matter what content you're creating. If you're creating music, have fun with it. If you're creating art, have fun with it. If you're creating videos, have fun with it. Imagery, what have you, have fun with it. Oh, and speaking of art, you know how they're having that whole debate on like AI art versus created art, like people actually creating art. I'm gonna give you my take on the whole AI art debate, which is quite interesting. Um, my whole feeling on the whole AI art debate is this: have the AI art make the backgrounds. Okay, you give the AI art the ability to make a generic background. The generic background gets made, and then the art, you then touch up the background the way you want it. So what you do is you have the AI spit out a very basic, um, sort of piece of artwork for a background, and then you go in and you touch it up the way you want it specifically done. So you're altering the AI's artwork to what you want it to look like. It's not 100% made by you, the person, but it allows you to take a lot of the stress off of a creator. Like, for example, with manga, right? In mangas, you have a lot of people that wear themselves out trying to make manga panels, doing the whole shading and all the line drawing and everything. And there's a lot of stress to it, which causes a lot of mangas to stress their workers. I mean, I watched a documentary on it, and you have all these workers that are kind of getting stressed out about it, about not making deadlines and everything. It's like, well, what if you had the AI making all the backgrounds for manga, you touch it up, and then you make the foreground characters, right? So they make the default background, and then you just kind of alter it for whatever scenes you need, and it takes a lot of the workload off of the person, and then they can start focusing more on character development and little nuances in the scene that they want specifically to be there. I think that would be the better use of AI, to be honest with you. And I think if people were to start doing that with AI, that you would have a lot less hostility toward it. Because then what you're having is you're not having the whole man versus machine Terminator debate, which a lot of people like to have. They're like, well, they're going to take everybody's jobs. What you're then having is you're having man and machine creating something monumentous. Now, that's not to say that AI is infallible, because it has faults. I mean, just the other day, I wanted to know where this one scene came from an anime, and it was telling me that the scene was from Oregairu, and it's like, no, it's not. I've watched Oregairu. There's no one like that in Oregairu. And so I then told the AI, incorrect. And I proceeded to correct it as it wasn't that anime. So there is faults that happen in AI. It's obviously not going to be infallible. No system ever will be. Doesn't matter how secure they claim they make it. Doesn't matter how secure everything is. It's never infallible. It just isn't. Even the blockchain. I'll never forget it. My brother sat there and he said that you cannot hack blockchain. Blockchain cannot be hacked. He said this ages ago, right? Now my brother's a pretty tech savvy individual. And I sat there and I'm like, nah. I said, is the blockchain connected to the internet? And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, it can be hacked. Guaranteed. Because it's connected to the internet, it can be hacked. That's it. That's the long and the short of it. No other things needed. Like, there you go. And he kind of looked at me like, no. I'm like, yeah, just give it time. Somebody will figure it out. And someone did. Not shortly after we had that discussion, the whole blockchain thing of NFTs got hacked and stolen. Not that NFTs are worth anything. But yeah, it had a whole bunch of stuff was like stolen away by these hackers. They hacked the blockchain and stole it. I said, well, thought it couldn't be hacked. No, there's security flaws in it. Just with same way with everything, right? Wouldn't it suck if everything though was perfect though? Think about it. You walk outside, it's perfect. You come home, it's perfect. You make food, it's perfect. Leaves no room for discovery. Because everything's already been done. Everything's perfect now. And people would say, well, why would you want things to be crap? Well, I'm not saying I want them to be crap, but you need that duality. All things in life need that duality. Everything. You need darkness to show the light. You need, evil to show good. You need literally everything like that. And there's a simple reason why. And it was actually displayed back in the Salem witch trials, okay? To a lesser degree. Okay? So what you had is, back in the day, you had people that were all trying to be like puritanical religious individuals. Brand new world. They're all alone. They're pioneers. They're roughing it. They have to do things by themselves with little to no intervention from outside forces. So, strange things started occurring. Instead of, finding a logical explanation for it, they started saying witchcraft. And then you started having the belief that witches were actually cursing one another. Now, it was true, there were some witchcraft elements, and curses can be laid on people. It's true. But that leans over into the more esoteric side of things, and we're just going to leave that esoteric side there for a minute. However, what you ended up having was you had one section of people looking at the other section of people and saying, well, they're the least good person, they're the witch. Or, oh, this person does this, so they're the witch. Now, this is what happens when you have too much of one side and not another, okay? Same thing happened in the 80s with communism, just so you know. Oh, they're the least conservative individual, they're a communist. McCarthyism ran rampant in Congress because of it. But what they do is they point out somebody and they say, that person is the least whatever, and they set out to ostracize them. And that's what happens. And it shouldn't. It should never happen. You should never take a bit of the group and go, well, what we're going to do is we're going to, remove, we're going to say, well, this person's the least good, or this person's the least whatever, so that must mean they're the opposite. That's not always the case. But yet, that doesn't stop people from making those assumptions. Take, for example, if you had a society that was all good people, everybody had the best of intentions, right? It would seem great for the time being. You would have a lot of unity, you would have a lot of togetherness, you would have people really focused on pulling together rather than pulling individually. However, inside of a couple of years, what you would have is you'd have one person saying, well, that person didn't attend this religious gathering, therefore they are the least good, and the least good is the most evil, therefore we should expel them from society. And you're going to get that type of exile that will happen. So you need the duality. Because if you didn't have that duality, what happens? Someone eventually creates the duality. Something eventually comes along and creates that duality because everything has to maintain balance. It sounds like a trope. It sounds like a trope straight out of like a fantasy novel, but it's true. It's 100% true. Because the human mind is pre-programmed to see in the duality. We believe everything needs to have an opposite. For each action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. What goes up must come down. And if you go off into the whole esoteric thing, as above, so below. So this exists. This duality-centric mindset exists in people. And I'm not trying to say that society wouldn't function without it. I'm saying that society would eventually start eating each other socially, politically. And they would do so in such a manner to the detriment of others. Actually, no, leave that on her. She doesn't need energy. They would do it to the detriment of their own society. Essentially, they would be bent on destroying themselves to make sure everything was outed. And you would have this metric of by which you are the most pious, or by which metric you are the most charitable. Whatever sort of society you're trying to build that factor around. And it happens the other way, too. So if the society went the other way and it was, a society full of ne'er-do-wells and thieves, right? They would believe that the other people are thieves. They would believe that other people are, I saw them doing this, and they were being a good person. Well, they're the least evil, so kick them out. It would happen. It would take a while, but it would be an inevitability. Because that's what happens. So you need the balance. It's the same way with, you take a look at the yin and the yang. It's got that little bit of balance in there. Because you need the contrast to be able to gauge everything by. Of course, you'd have those people saying, well, wait a minute, so what you're saying is you don't have a moral compass? Well, no, if you think about it, when you're growing up, you don't. Your compass morals come from all those around you. Your moral compass comes from all those around you. Right? They teach you right from wrong. They teach you, good versus evil. They take the time out of their day to teach you this stuff. What's right and what's right from wrong, essentially, and it builds your morality. Nobody's born with morality. Nobody sits there and goes, yes, I know right from wrong. I have all the morals. They're taught those morals, and some people are taught immoral things. It's dependent on the person. So this is something that is taught to these people. So the moral compass and being taught what's right, what's wrong, definitely comes into play. But a unilateral society will always have that suspicion. Mostly because the trust has to be built. And trying to build that trust is a very difficult thing. Especially when, the people that you're trying to build that trust with automatically are leery of you because of previous betrayal in their life. And you can tell, too. You'll meet people. And those people that you meet are... I was going to say those meat people, which is just a harrowing thought. Those people that you meet... you can tell when they've been betrayed. Because they start taking a look at every interaction of how can I leverage. They don't look at an interaction as an interaction. They don't take it for what it is and say, yes, this person is a good person and I enjoy talking to them and I had a wonderful time. They look at the conversation and they say, okay, how can I leverage what this person has said or done, and how can I gain the upper hand? Those people that do that consciously are generally the ones that have been betrayed before because someone leveraged against them. And when that happens and you get that leverage against you, you start becoming very wary and leery of people. You're less likely to be forthright. You're less likely to be honest because you're afraid of being leveraged. And it happens a lot in society these days. A lot. I mean, it's a very pernicious thing. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that society does it. I think it's very disheartening. If I had to come up with a term, it's very disheartening. So when you think about it, look at how many scammers existed in the 90s and the 80s and the early 2000s. Tons of them. And it's sad. Like, it really is sad that it went that way. It went that far. You know what I mean? That's how life is lately. Mm-hmm. I need more mana eventually. You'll hear it on the news. It's like, ah, yes, this person did this, and then you find out that they were actually a corrupt individual and they were doing it to just gain wealth or status.
Yes.
And then you're like, okay. And then somebody else comes up with an idea or something to, some sort of event. And you're like, ah, yes, I want to help with them with that event, but are we going to get taken for a ride like we did last time? And that prevents people from being truly altruistic, if I had to say it. Right? Now, you're probably thinking, what is true altruism? Or as I like to call it, altruism, with true being in caps. Right? The truest form of altruism is giving of yourself, giving time from you, from the heart, to another, expecting nothing in return, and wanting no accolades of your achievement. All you want is you want to give of yourself to them, allow them to say, thank you, I needed that, and have that be plenty. If they want to talk about it, they can, but you don't walk around going, I helped her out the other day. Because then it's not true altruism. Because you're expecting that pat on the back like, you did a good job, kid. That's not altruism. Because you're using it for an ulterior motive. Truest form of altruism is just doing something right. And then, like they said it in Futurama. They said if you do something well enough, it'll appear as though you've done nothing at all. And that's very true. But we made it to 11. We're on our way. We're halfway through Act 1. It's already almost 40 minutes. Time slips away when I'm playing this game. Time slips away when I'm playing a lot of games, but this game especially. But I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. I enjoyed having these topics, too. You know what I'm saying? I hope you stick around and watch them. And if you ever have other topics you want to talk about, or you want me to kind of opine over, leave them in the comments. Just leave it in the comments, man. I will opine over many topics. And I will give my perspective on things. Now, it might not be exactly the perspective you're looking for, but it might be a perspective that gives you food for thought. And that's kind of why we're all here. I want to thank everybody for coming out here and watching this, and I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, have a good one.